If you own a Cricut Explorer, Maker, or Brother Scan & Cut, watch this video. SureCut's Lot 5 is one of the most advanced and affordable softwares for your personal electronic cutting machine. Over the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to give you 9 of my top reasons why every Cricut and Brother Scan & Cut user should own this software. And I'll be demonstrating a few of the many powerful tools that are included with your purchase. So let's get started. SureCut's Lot has one of the most advanced tracing features available. Especially for the price, it's a must-have. You can trace any GIF, JPEG, or PNG file. You can specify the amount of colors you want, which is very handy when you want to trace something that you will eventually cut out of vinyl or HTV. And even resample whatever you are tracing if the source file is very small. Once you have your design traced, simply save it as an SVG file for your Cricut or Scan & Cut, and then import and cut. For our Brother Scan & Cut users, anything you design or trace can also be saved as an FCM file, which is Brother's native Scan & Cut format. Reason 2. SureCut's Lot makes rhinestone projects possible for your Cricut or Brother Scan & Cut. I made these 2 gifts using some of the included files from lovesvg.com in about 5 minutes. With SureCut's Lot, you can import any font or shape and turn it into a rhinestone template, which you can then import into Design Space or Canvas. SureCut's Lot's rhinestone feature lets you select your gem shape, set the spacing, and comes preset with over 70 rhinestone sizes, including the popular SS16, SS10, and SS6. Stay tuned after my top 9 to see how I made these shirts in SureCut's Lot from start to finish. Reason 3. Font tools. SureCut's Lot makes it easy to add text, resize, create shadow layers and bridge warp, type on arch, adjust individual letter width and tracking, and a lot more. I just created this final project using some Christmas trees, which we've included in this promotion. I also used a couple fonts and some basic design elements, and in about 10 minutes I had this beautiful piece that I'll be displaying on my mantle this upcoming Christmas season. SureCut's Lot also makes it easy to find your favorite font's hidden letters, swashes, ligatures, and other graphic elements. SureCut's Lot has a handy stencil bridge feature, so you can take any font and create stencils from it with just a few clicks. Oh, and if you have someone who loves a certain kind of sci-fi film, make them a shirt featuring the title crawl tool. You can also wave your text, distort it, type vertically, and more. Reason number 4. Unfortunately, the editing tools in Design Space and Canvas leave much to be desired. Editing tools are especially helpful for anyone that has ever wanted to quickly and easily remove parts of a design. With SureCut's Lot, it's as easy as using the eraser tool to erase parts of a design, or by using one of the many path tools to customize a project quickly and efficiently. So I have customers overseas that aren't able to get 12 by 12 paper, and they have 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock. Now we typically create our files to maximize a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So for example, this scarecrow, a lot of these elements are going to use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And although possible, it can be a little more tedious in either Canvas or Cricut Design Space to take our SVG files that are formatted for 12 by 12 and kind of chop them and separate them so you can use them on smaller sheets of paper. The eraser tool makes that a breeze. Reason 5. During this special promotion, every purchase of SureCut's Lot comes with over $200 worth of designs for your personal use. You'll get all of our promotional designs from 2019 and new designs for 2020. I've included loads of flourishes, various wreaths, and some sports-related imagery to get you started creating and customizing in SureCut's Lot. We've also partnered with lovesvg.com to include their sweater weather bundle, along with a 25% off coupon for new customers and a 15% off coupon for existing customers. We're also including a $6.99 gift card to my other site, Dreaming Tree, so that you can try out some of our amazing 3D paper projects. Choose from bags, boxes, pop-up cards, or one of our amazing centerpieces or luminaries. You won't find paper crafts like this anywhere else. Reason number 6. We've partnered with SingleLineFonts.com to bring you a free single-line font for use with your cutting machine. Included with your purchase is the graceful single-line font. You can easily use this font with your favorite compatible pens to create stunning text to complement your cards and other paper projects. We'll also include a 50% off coupon should you decide to pick up a few more fonts from singlelinefonts.com. Reason number 7. We're including a full written manual that covers Sure Cuts a Lot from A to Z. The manufacturer does include a basic help section, but that wasn't good enough for me, so we sourced something better. The manual covers topics like installation, handling files, organizing layers, working with text, tracing, and drawing, and the list goes on. The manual is beautifully organized with a detailed tables of contents, and it's full of screenshots galore. We also regularly post how-to videos in our group and on our Sure Cuts a Lot help page. You'll get access to both. Software, just like any other tool, is only as good as the person using it. The manual is a must, and it's included free with this promotion. Reason number 8, customer support. If you run into any issues getting your Sure Cuts a Lot installed, we're here to help. You'll have access to help via email, as well as a special Facebook group. And if that doesn't do the trick, we're one of the few, if not the only, Sure Cuts a Lot retailers that offers phone support complete with remote desktop, so you can sit back and let us get you up and running. Last but not least, reason 9 is our special promotional price. Sure Cuts a Lot usually retails for $75, but during this promotion, you'll get the software for $46.99, which includes the 270-page manual, over $200 worth of art for your personal use, a beautiful single-line font, as well as customer support to ensure you get up and running in no time. Oh, and take a look at some of the wonderful reviews from our existing customers. Cynthia R. says, no matter what machine you use, Scal or Sure Cuts a Lot is a must-have for endless editing, designing, personalizing, etc. capabilities. Debbie says, I love this product. It's very easy to use for my needs, and it works flawlessly with Cricut Design Space. Perfect complement to Cricut Design Space. Easy to create, save, and upload. That was from April. And Claire says, I bought a Brother Scan and Cut, but found the Canvas software very limiting. Found Scal so much more versatile. So take advantage of this special deal while you can and take your cutting machine capabilities to the next level. Supplies are limited and the sale ends when we sell out, so don't miss out. If you'd like to see the step-by-step video on how I created these shirts and the sign, you'll want to stay tuned because that starts now. Okay, so let's start off with the Wine Diva shirt. Now, in Sure Cuts a Lot, at any time when you want to bring in an SVG file, you can either drag and drop it onto your mat, or you can click the import button, and then you'll want to navigate to wherever your SVG file is. In my case, I just put the 2 files that we'll be working on in a folder called Demo, and we simply double-click to open it up. Okay, so here it is. So typically when I make a shirt, I try to avoid all that negative space on the shirt. So with this one, we're going to go about 9.5 inches wide. So what you want to do is you can just click on this whole design. You can see that it's highlighted here. And over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to type in 9.5 and hit enter, and you can see that it resized it for me. Now, for this project, we're going to leave the Diva portion and the wine glass alone. I did that in a gold HTV, but we're going to convert the actual wine and the heart and this little flourish here into a rhinestone template. So the first thing we need to do is we need to right click on this and ungroup it, and what that's going to do is it's going to separate the elements here depending on how they were saved. So you can see here this was separated and this is all still together, so we actually have to, so we're going to have to ungroup this again. Okay, and that frees up this part, so we need to ungroup that again. What we're trying to do here is just isolate the heart, and there you can see I can move it around now after ungrouping a few things. And we need to ungroup this as well to isolate the wine portion, and you can see there that's isolated, as is this. So what we're interested in at this point is just the red parts. These are the parts that I'm going to turn into a rhinestone template. So to easily select all 3 of the red parts, over here in the layers section, there's one of them there. You can see the little thumbnail. So I'm going to hold down shift, and I've got one of them selected already, and you can see that it's selected because it has a little box around it. And I'm going to click on the heart while holding down shift. So now these 2 are selected. And I'm also going to click on wine right here as I hold down Shift, and that's going to select all three. Now, just to kind of keep these together, we can now right click and group them. Okay, so now when we click on anything red, it selects everything red, and we can move it around all together. You don't have to do this, it's more of a convenience. Now that we have all the red isolated and all grouped together, we can click on it and go under Effects and click Rhinestones. Now I've decided that I'm going to use my SS10 rhinestones here. So I'm going to select SS10 from the rhinestone menu, and you want to pick your rhinestone shape, and I'm doing the circular ones. You also have these three other shapes here, and I'm just going to hit Preview. Okay, and there you have it. It was that simple. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now there's a couple things that I've noticed here, and this is the great part of Shortcuts a lot. The rhinestone feature isn't a magic bullet. You may need to go in and modify some things and customize it so that it looks exactly how you want it to look. But what we can do is you can right click on this and we can break it apart. And you notice here, let me zoom in a little bit. We've got a little zoom tool here on the left so that you can get in nice and close and be very, very detailed with your design. Okay, I'm going to grab the selection tool. I'm going to click on this little rhinestone cutout, and I'm going to click on Copy, and I'm going to hit Paste. And you can see here it added another one. Now I can take this and move it wherever I want, and if I want more control over where it's going, I can use the nudge tool up here and simply just move it and nudge it ever so slightly. Okay, so I did that to fill that little gap in, and then I think that it may be nice to have one more little rhinestone down here to complete the heart. So I'm going to highlight that, hit Copy, and then hit Paste, and we can pop that right here, and then I'll use the nudge feature to get it exactly where I want it. Okay, there we go. Now another thing you can do, instead of just doing an outline, let's import that one more time, and again I'm going to set this to 9.5 inches wide by typing it into the section here and hitting Enter. And just like I did before, we're going to ungroup these until all these elements are isolated. Okay, I'm going to ungroup that. And actually what I was interested in was just this heart. So what we can do is we can take and copy this heart, and then under the edit option we can paste it in place. And what that essentially does is it creates two copies of the heart. Okay, so let me just show you here that there are two copies of the heart. Okay, so I'm going to click and select the one that's on top, and you can see that here in the layers. We got two hearts. I'm going to select the one that's on top. I'm going to go back and click on rhinestones. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to fill it in and preview, and you can see how we've got the rhinestones on top of the heart. Now I'm just keeping that other heart there to kind of help me visualize what that heart should look like, so that I can manually add whatever rhinestones I need to complete that design. Let me just mess with the stone spacing a little bit and see if that fills it in any better. That's not bad. So I'll hit OK. Now I can hide that other heart if I want to, but I'm going to leave it up for now, and I'm actually going to lock it so it doesn't move. Now back to this one, we're going to right click and break this apart, and actually I'm going to change the color. So I'm selecting the heart that was below the rhinestone version, and we're going to change the color on that so that you can actually see it a little bit better. There we go. Now I'll go back to the rhinestone section, and we need to break this apart so that they can be little individual ones. Okay, so we're going to go to Copy and then hit Paste, and I'm just going to nudge this one into place based on that previous heart, the one that is underneath this layer. Okay, so you can see how I added that, and now I think I'm going to add two more here. So I'm going to grab one of those, doesn't matter which one, they're all the same, and I'm going to paste that in place, and I'm just using the little arrows on my keyboard to move it, and then I can nudge it using these keys here. Okay, so we'll copy this one and paste it, and that one's going to go up here. Give that a little bit of a nudge. Okay, And we need one more. So we'll copy and paste. And there we go. Let's take a look. There you go. So now we can get rid of the other one, and you can see how nice that heart looks. And if you need to, just make any final little adjustments here or there. They're ready to go. Okay. Okay, the other shirt that I made was a Jingle Bells shirt, and this is also from lovesvg.com, which is included in your purchase. So I'm going to start off again by setting this to 9.5 inches wide. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to put rhinestones around the word jingle. So just like before, we need to begin by right-clicking and ungrouping this because this is all one design right now. Okay, so I right-clicked and ungrouped, and it looks like it did free up the Jingle Bells part, which is really what I was interested in. So if I want, just for now, to make the screen a little more simple for me, I can turn off everything else by clicking on the little eyeball here. The little thumbnail will tell you exactly what it is you're turning on or off. Okay, so here I have my Jingle Bell, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. You can also do that here, and then I'll do an Edit, Paste in Place. So what that does is it puts another copy of it directly over the one that we just copied. And what I'm going to do is change the color on this to something a little bit darker and hit OK. And now you'll see we have two copies of it, one that is darker than the other. So I will just undo that because I want to keep them on top of each other. So what we're going to do next is we're going to select the layer that is underneath this layer, and that's our original layer here. And I'm going to select it by clicking here in the layers area. You can see the gold version of the Jingle Bells there. I'm going to go over to this wrench tool, and I'm going to change the style to shadow rounded. Okay, and you can see what that did. It added a nice shadow behind the darker Jingle Bells. Now I'm going to increase the size on that. And I'm also going to hit the weld button. Okay, and welding, anytime we have shapes that, like right here, you can see how the shadow from the L in the word bells is overlapping with the shadow in the G from the word jingle. This will essentially make this all one continuous shape, so it'll continue going around here when we add the rhinestones instead of adding rhinestones in this area here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we have our shadow layer the exact way we want it, just want to make sure we highlight it and right click, and then we can merge it together. And we'll want to select it again, and we can go under Effects and Rhinestones. Now I'm going to set this to SS10, make sure that I have the right rhinestone shape selected, and preview it, and you can see how nicely that adds the rhinestones around the lettering. There are a few little areas that we'll need to touch up, but overall a huge time saver. So we'll hit OK, and I'm going to select and make sure I have the rhinestone section selected. Okay, and you can do that by clicking here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to break this apart. Okay, so now you can see all these little individual rhinestones, and I'm going to zoom in, and you can see here there are a few that just probably shouldn't be there at all. We can take this one, move it here, and again give that a little bit of a nudge. And this guy doesn't belong here, neither does that one. And we can move that one up into this spot. There we go. Looks like I could probably add one more here, so I'll highlight it, click copy, and then paste, and then just move it over into the correct spot. Just nudge that. Nudging gives you very precise control over where things are going. And I'll just review the rest of the design, make sure that everything looks good and nothing's out of place. Now it looks like some of these rhinestones here aren't perfectly in place, but that's not a big deal. I can just go in and just simply nudge them over. And there's one left here. We'll nudge that over, and there we go. Now you can add or remove rhinestones to your heart's content. It just depends on what your vision is for your final product. but that is ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to show you just how easy it is and quick it is to recreate this shirt in Shirt Cuts A Lot. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on my type tool here on the left hand side, and then I'm going to click anywhere on the mat. So now we see a blinking cursor. I'm going to type my word, Diva. Now, of course, that is not the font that I used on my shirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the selection tool, and Diva is automatically selected, but I'm going to click on it just to show you that that's how easy it is. You click, and now on the right-hand side here, you'll see the text options, and I'm going to select a font that I picked out called Boulevard. Okay, and that's the font that you saw on the shirt, and you can take it and move it around very easily. And then you have this little handle here that you can click on to resize your item. Okay. Now over here we can take a look, and it tells us that it's about 7 inches wide. I believe that when I cut it out the first time, I made it about 6 inches. So we'll go about 6 something. That sounds good right there. Okay. Now you'll notice that these letters, they are individual letters that are overlapping. So what we can do to simplify that is go under Path and hit Union. Okay, and that takes, and now you'll see that you don't see the little individual portions of the letters. This is now, if you click on preview, one solid cut. Okay, so now what we're going to do to create the rhinestone portion of this, and actually let me make this bigger. So what we need to do is create the rhinestone layer. Let's click on the word Diva. We'll go to Edit and Copy, and we're going to go back to Edit and do a Paste in Place. So what that's going to do is it's going to create another copy of it right on top of itself. Now, because it's on top of itself, it's not very easy to see it. That's where our layers come into play. You'll notice that under Layers, we have the word Diva twice. Okay, and I can show you here. I'm going to move one just to illustrate this, and I'm going to put it right back. You can see that it's there twice, except they're right on top of each other. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select the bottom layer here, and you can select the layers here. This is the bottom layer, so this is the layer that's furthest to the back, and we're going to run a shadow process on it. So with it selected, down here you can see in the blue it's selected, we're going to click on the wrench, and we're going to click Shadow. Okay, now you see what happened there. It created a shadow. I can simply, easily increase that shadow size by just clicking up or down here, and you can make the shadow as big or as small as you want. Now, for the sake of working with rhinestones, we're only going to make the shadow about that big. And while we're here, we can actually just change the color so that we can help kind of differentiate what's what. Okay. So now, since we're cutting out the top layer in gold, I'm going to just change that to a nice gold color and hit OK. So now we need to take that shadow layer and turn it into some rhinestones. So all we need to do is click on that red shadow layer here in Layers, and go under Effects and Rhinestones. Doing so will bring up your rhinestone options window, and I'm using round rhinestones, and they're going to be SS10, and I'm going to go ahead and hit preview and see what it does for me. And there you can see the rhinestones are added for me automatically. That's all I need to do, and it actually did a really good job of it. So I'm going to hit OK. And now what I want to do, because there are parts of this, now you may decide that you like these rhinestones in here, I'm going to just take my eraser tool, and I am just going to get rid of these rhinestones in here because I don't want those in there. I just want the rhinestones around the perimeter. Okay, so just that easy. You grab your eraser tool and you can just erase these rhinestones away. Our file is now ready to be exported into either Design Space or Brothers Canvas. And we can accomplish that by going to File, Export, and we're going to call this Diva. And you'll notice that you can save it as an SVG file, which of course is compatible with Design Space and Brother Canvas, or you can save it as an FCM file, which is the native format for Scan and Cut. So either one will work if you have a Brother. If you have a Cricut, you want to save it as an SVG, and I'm going to hit Save. And now for our Cricut users, you'll notice that you want to check this little box that says Design Space Compatible and hit OK. Okay, so now that I'm in Design Space, I'm going to hit Upload, and I'm going to upload image and browse, and there is my file on the desktop. I'm going to double click on that, and there it is. I'll hit Save, and then I can click on it here, and insert it just like I would any other SVG file. So as you can see, it's ready to go. We've got our rhinestones on one layer, we've got our HTV on the next layer, and we can go ahead and hit make it, and there you go. Now, of course, since you're cutting HTV, you'll want to hit mirror, and that's going to mirror it for you. When you put it on your shirt, you're going to apply the rhinestones, and you're ready to go. Okay, so here we are in Brothers Canvas. We're going to click on the SVG import, choose File, and there's diva.svg. We hit OK, and there is your file. Here is your HTV layer. Here is your rhinestone layer. And of course, because this is going to be an HTV project, we want to go under Edit and make sure that we flip it so that it cuts correctly. And of course, here are your rhinestones ready to go. Okay, so let's take a look at what I did to create this cool sign. I'm going to start off by importing one of the free files that we've included with the bundle. It's these Christmas trees here. And I'm just going to kind of resize them, make them a little bit smaller, and get them nice and centered on my mat here. And we're going to start off by curving some text up here that says Farm Fresh. So what I'm going to do is click on the type tool and hold it down, and I'm going to do type on arch or arc. Now the font that I want to use, I'm going to go over here to where the fonts are. The font is called Copper Plate Bold, and let's see, where is it? Here it is. Okay, and I'm going to click here, and I already have my font selected here. It's called Copper Plate Bold, and I'm going to type Farm Fresh. Okay, now we can take this, and by taking it and selecting the selection tool here, we can make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to increase the size of this, and I'm going to bring this over. Now you can see here in the center, as I move this, this little bold blue line appears, and that is indicating to me that I have this centered, which is very helpful, so you don't really have to guess. It takes a look at the entire file, and it centers it for you. So I'm just going to take this and just nudge it over a little bit, because the computer seems to think that that's centered, but visually I want to just move it over just a tad that way. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now I'm going to click and hold on the type tool and just select the regular type tool. I'm not going to curve this text. And now I want to find a font called Welcome, and there it is. I've selected my new font, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to type Christmas trees. I'm going to click on my selection tool. That brings up all these handles. I can then move this over, and I'm going to resize this and make it bigger. Now I want it to be roughly just a little bit less than the width of the Farm Fresh. The Farm Fresh, and then one other element that I will add in just a moment are going to be sort of like a natural frame for this project. Okay, so there's my Christmas trees. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to my desktop, and I have a folder, and these files here are included with your purchase of the special bundle of Shortcuts a Lot. I've got this little element here that I'm going to bring in. You can literally just drag and drop it onto your mat. Okay, I'm going to get this nice and centered here. And I'm actually, while I'm here, I'm going to bring my deer in because I'm planning on using this deer as well. And that's it as far as files go. So these three files aren't included in your download. We're actually going to clean up the antlers a little bit because we're going to make it kind of small and it may not cut, so we're going to try to clean that up a little bit. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to bring this down a little bit, and I'm going to grab my type tool, click and hold. I'm just going to do the regular type tool, and I'm going to type, well, actually we need to change the font back to Copper Plate Bold, and I'm going to do Fir, Spruce, and Pine. Okay, and you know what? Let's add a space, an extra space between all of these. Now I'm going to grab my selection tool, And I need to shrink these. So I'm going to grab this little handle here, and I'm going to shrink this. They're a little bit too big. Make it a little bit smaller. There we go. And we're going to pop that right about here, using the little bold line in the center to help us center everything. Now I'm going to go over here, and I can show you real quick. Under Window, there's an option for Library, and in your library you'll find some basic shapes. I'm going to grab a circle, and I'm going to put this little circle right in between these words here. I'm going to click on the little art palette here and change the fill color to black. And I'm going to shrink this down, make it a little bit smaller. Don't need it to be too big. Here we go. And I can take that and just drop it right in there. And I'm going to click over here on the control option here, and I'm just going to nudge it up a little bit. And check my work. Okay, I want to nudge it over to the right a few more. Check my work. That looks good. Okay, and then we're going to go to Copy under Edit and Paste. And we're going to move this one over here. I'm going to try to line that up with that one and just nudge it over a couple. And maybe a couple more. There we go. Okay, now this element is probably a pretty good size there. I'm very happy with that. And so far, everything is lined up nicely. Everything looks great. Okay, so now I'm going to take my deer. My deer is going to go here, and that looks centered because that little blue bold line indicates that my deer is now centered. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and bring it over. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to clean up and just erase using the eraser tool, which I can decrease in size up here. I'm going to make it about 1/4 inch. And I'm going to get rid of this part of the antler here by simply just erasing it. Okay, and that's going to cut a lot better for me. That's a really delicate area there, and I'm afraid that that might mess up. Okay, so now all we're going to do is add some more text at the bottom to curve it. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to do a Select All and just bring this up to the top so I have more room here at the bottom. And I'm going to type Cut and Carry. So I'm going to grab my type tool again. I'm going to do Type on Arc or Arch, however you want to pronounce it. And go ahead and click here and type Cut and Carry. Now you'll notice that it's going the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this all, and I'm going to change it so that it curves inside, not outside. Very simple fix there. And I kind of like the angle that it's at. We can always go back in and change it, but I'm going to resize this because I want it to be almost the same as the one on top there. It's still a little small. Oops, go back. And that looks about right. Now we can just take it and drag it and center it until that little blue line shows up. And then we can go to our control tool and nudge that up. You can actually do that with your keyboard too. And there we go. And now to make this easy, we can do a Select All, Edit, Select All, and then we'll do Path Union. And what that does is it takes all of this and makes it just one solid file that's grouped together. And this is going to import very nicely into either Cricut Design Space or Brothers Canvas. So to do that, we're going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to call this Farm Fresh. And you can see that it's an SVG file. I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it Final, Farm Fresh Final, and I'm going to hit Save. Now for our Cricut users, you're going to hit the little checkbox here that says Design Space Compatible and hit OK. Now also, for those of you that have a Brothers Scan and Cut, you can use the SVG files, but if you go to File, Export, you'll notice that there is an option for the Scan and Cut format, .fcm. So I'm going to call this Farm Fresh Final Brother. Okay, and we'll hit Save. All right, so now we're ready to open this up in either Design Space or Canvas, so let's do that. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. I'm going to do a new project, go to Upload, and hit Upload Image. We're going to browse, and on my desktop here, where I saved it, I have Farm Fresh Final. We'll double click on that, select it. There it is. Hit Save. And we can click here, insert the image. It brings it in at exactly the same size we had it in Shortcuts a lot. As you can see here, one solid file. We'll click Make It, and it is ready to go. Now I could have easily cut this on my Cricut, and I did my HTV projects with my Cricut, but I did this one with my Brother Scan and Cut. And actually, you can see here, I have my Brother Scan and Cut connected to my computer. So I could literally just take it and drag it and drop it into the little disc that appears when you plug your Brother into your computer, or you can go directly into the Canvas workspace by clicking on the SVG import button, clicking Choose File. Again, you notice here that it lets you bring in SVGs or FCMs, so we're going to choose File. And on my desktop here is the Farm Fresh Final Brother.fcm file. We'll click on that and hit OK. And there is our final file, just exactly like the one that we cut out that you see here in the final project.